Imagine this: 50,000 elite soldiers marching into a vast, unforgiving desert only to vanish without a trace. It sounds like the plot of an epic movie, but for centuries, this has been the enduring mystery of Cambyses' lost army. What really happened to them? It all began in 525 BC. The Persian king, Cambyses II, son of Cyrus the Great, had just conquered Egypt. But his ambitions didn't stop there. He set his sights on the remote Siwa oasis, home to the revered oracle of Ammon. To crush this pocket of resistance, he dispatched a massive force of 50,000 men from Thebes. According to the ancient Greek historian Herodotus, the army set off on a 7-day march into the western desert. They were last seen near an oasis, likely Karga, before they marched toward Siwa. And then, nothing. They simply disappeared. Herodotus, our primary source for this incredible story, paints a dramatic picture. He writes that a sudden, violent sandstorm, a massive south wind, swept up from the desert and buried the entire army alive. 50,000 soldiers, their supplies, their weapons, all swallowed by an immense wall of sand. It's a terrifying and cinematic image that has captured imaginations for over 2,000 years. For centuries, this was the accepted explanation. A tragic but plausible act of nature against a hubristic king. But is it the truth? Or is it just a fantastic story? Many modern historians and archaeologists are skeptical. First, let's consider the source. Herodotus wrote his account about 75 years after the event. He was a Greek, and the Persians were their long-standing rivals. His stories were often filled with dramatic flair and moral lessons. It's possible he was embellishing the tale, or even repeating anti-Persian propaganda he heard from the Egyptians. The Egyptians certainly had no love for Cambyses, who was portrayed as a cruel and imperious tyrant. What better way to discredit a conqueror than to claim the gods themselves struck down his army? Another major issue is the sheer scale of the event. Burying an army of 50,000 men, along with their equipment, camels, and supplies, would require a sandstorm of almost unimaginable proportions. While desert sandstorms are incredibly dangerous, annihilating such a massive force without a single survivor or piece of wreckage ever being found seems highly improbable. Think about it. That's 50,000 skeletons, 50,000 sets of armor, weapons, and supplies. Over the last 2 millennia, with shifting sands and countless desert travelers, you would expect something to turn up. A shield, a helmet, a coin. But so far, not a single confirmed artifact from Cambyses' lost army has ever been officially authenticated. This lack of physical evidence has led many to question Herodotus' account. Some scholars even propose a more radical theory. The army never disappeared at all. Perhaps the story was entirely fabricated. Professor Olaf Kaper from Leiden University has a compelling alternative theory. He suggests the army wasn't lost to a sandstorm, but was defeated in battle. Kaper's research points to a powerful Egyptian rebel leader named Petabastus III. While Cambyses was busy with campaigns elsewhere, Petabastus seized control of a large part of western Egypt, including the oases. According to this theory, Cambyses' army wasn't on a mission to consult an oracle, but to crush this rebellion. They marched into the desert and engaged Petabastus's forces. Instead of being swallowed by sand, they were ambushed and systematically destroyed in a brutal battle. A decisive military defeat would have been a huge embarrassment for the Persian Empire. It's plausible that Cambyses' successor, Darius the Great, suppressed the news of this humiliating loss and replaced it with the more palatable act of God's sandstorm story. Herodotus, hearing this official version years later, reported it as fact. This theory neatly explains the lack of remains, as the victorious Egyptians would have likely stripped the bodies of their valuable weapons and armor. So where does that leave us? The search for the lost army continues to this day. There have been numerous tantalizing claims of discovery. In the 1990s, an oil exploration team reported finding pottery shards and human remains. But these were never conclusively linked to the Persians. More famously, in 2009, two Italian archaeologists announced they had found evidence near Scio bronze weapons, a silver bracelet, and hundreds of human bones. The news made headlines around the world. Was this finally it? The Lost Army of Cambyses? Unfortunately, the archaeological community remains deeply divided. Many experts have disputed the claims, questioning the dating of the artifacts and the methods of the discovery. The find remains unverified, another almost in a long line of them. The mystery also highlights the sheer brutality of ancient warfare and the unforgiving nature of the desert. Whether they were victims of a cataclysmic sandstorm or a well-planned ambush, the fate of those 50,000 soldiers was grim. Imagine being one of them, marching for days under a relentless sun, the landscape a monotonous sea of sand. Water is running low, morale is sinking. Then, either the horizon darkens with an approaching sandstorm, a terrifying wall of dust and wind, or the dunes suddenly erupt with enemy fighters. Either way, it was a terrifying end. The story also serves as a powerful piece of political storytelling. For the Greeks and Egyptians, it was a tale of divine retribution against an arrogant foreign invader. For the Persians, if the battle theory is correct, it was a state secret, a military disaster covered up to protect the image of an invincible empire. The narrative was shaped and reshaped by those in power. So, what do you think happened? Was Herodotus right all along? And somewhere beneath the Egyptian sands lies a mass grave of 50,000 Persian warriors, a silent testament to the power of nature. Or is the truth more political? A story of a devastating military defeat cleverly hidden from the history books by a masterful cover-up. Maybe the army was onto a single massive force, but was broken into smaller units that were picked off one by one. Perhaps they simply succumbed to dehydration and exhaustion, their bodies scattered over hundreds of miles of desert, lost forever to the shifting sands. The truth is, we still don't know for sure. The desert is vast, and it holds its secrets close. It is a place where entire armies can, and apparently did, vanish. The Lost Army of Cambyses remains one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries. A haunting story of ambition, power, and the awesome, humbling force of the desert. It's a riddle buried in sand, waiting for the one clue that might finally reveal the fate of 50,000 souls. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into history's mysteries. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next exploration into the unknown. See you next time.